It's a story we first brought to you last week on To the Point. The state is closing death row at San Quentin, and all condemned California inmates are moving to other high-level security prisons by the end of this summer. And now we're hearing from more families of those impacted by the change. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen shares a Vacaville woman's story about her mother's killer being moved to a facility where her son is currently serving time.
I see my mom not wanting to take the picture, but she did.
These photos of Angela Womble, her mom, and young son Terrence Henderson were taken in 1986.
I just see, the happiness, the love.
Only a few months after this photo was taken, her life would never be the same.
He shot my mother in the head in front of me.
In July 1986, Womble was living in Richmond with her mom and son. He was only 1.5 years old at the time. One evening, Womble remembers two armed men coming to her home, demanding money. One of them was Willie Darnell Johnson.
I said, I don't have any money. And he said, you do. And I'm like, I don't have any money.
Womble says she managed to give them about $100, but things quickly turned violent.
Johnson fired his weapon into the ceiling, and then weapons were pointed in the direction of me and my mother. And the initial shot scared my son, and so he started running. And so I was reaching to get him.
Johnson shot and killed her mother. Womble says because she was chasing after her son, that saved her life.
It prevented the shotgun blast from going in the head to grazing the head, the neck, and entering my left shoulder,
leaving her with severe injuries the rest of her life that still cause her pain to this day. Johnson was convicted of Womble's mother's murder and sentenced to death in 1987.
Even if it didn't bring her back, justice was served.
Since August 5th, 1987, Johnson has been serving his sentence at San Quentin. Then this May, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation sent Womble this email saying, quote, "You are receiving this email as the offender's assigned facility and custody location may have recently changed." Johnson had been moved to the California Medical Facility in Vacaville.
This cannot be happening. This, please make it make sense. This cannot happen.
In 2019, Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order to temporarily put a stop to the death penalty. Prop 66 that was passed by voters in 2016 allows the state to move death row inmates to high-level security state prisons where they work and pay restitution to victims.
He had no regard for victims or their families or friends that lived through the horrific events that happened in their lives, as well as the encouragement that took a long time for people to get where they can breathe again.
What was once peace following a death row sentence is now Womble's familiar feeling of fear and anxiety.
I now have about 8 cameras. I also have devices that I put in my doors to make sure that no one can get in. I'm pretty much a prisoner in my own home.
As for Womble's son, 39-year-old Terrence Henderson, who was also in the house the night of the murder, he's serving a 27-year sentence for second-degree robbery with an enhancement for use of a firearm during a bank robbery in the Sacramento area. He's in the California Medical Facility in Vacaville, where Johnson was recently transferred. The CDCR says they were housed at different facilities there, but Womble had concerns they'd run into each other.
Definitely a slap in the face. Unheard of. I'm actively talking with the district attorney's office, trying to get more information. How could this happen?
ABC 10 started making calls to state and county officials. The Contra Costa County DA's office tells us it has contacted CDCR about the issue. The CDCR tells us because of the DA's alert about the relationship between the two inmates, Johnson was being transferred to the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo. ABC 10 was first to notify Womble of the change.
I have deep empathy for victims of crimes, and I believe in justice.
During Governor Newsom's 2019 announcement of the moratorium on executions, he mentioned meeting with victims' families. ABC 10 asked the governor's office to give us an updated statement as more inmates are being moved off death row. Instead, his office pointed us to his 2019 remarks.
Do we have the right to kill? And that's a deep and existential question. I don't believe we do.
I'm disappointed, Governor Newsom. I can't imagine if the shoe was on the other foot, how you would feel, how you would have made your decision.
Jeannie joins us now, and she has been following this. A big question that a lot of people have is what happens to death row inmates after they're transferred out of San Quentin? What happens next?
Well, Alex, death row at San Quentin is actually 5 rows of concrete cells, and many media outlets have visited the cell blocks in recent months. Inmates have told reporters they are basically in a cage and are escorted everywhere in handcuffs. But with their transfers, they say they anticipate they'll be able to move around, talk, and do things on their own account. And CDCR says these inmates' sentences do not change. These transfers allow people to participate in work programs to pay court-ordered restitution for their victims. And Alex, I did speak with Angela Womble yesterday, and she told me she does not care about the restitution.
And I also do want to mention that according to the CDCR website, more than 160 inmates remain on death row. They will be moved by the end of summer. Jeannie, thank you for the update. And you already know we will continue to follow this.